That'd be great. I think we'll just give it a couple more minutes here and then we'll go ahead and get started. Ritesh, where are you based? I can see you're at Roger Williams.
Yes, I'm currently operating from Mumbai,
Okay, wonderful.
and Roger Williams is in Rhode Island, Bristol.
Yeah, not too far from where I am here in Philadelphia, a short ride and an even shorter flight. It's a beautiful area.
Yes, yes.
We're glad that you're here with us.
Well, it's a pleasure being here. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, another 30 seconds and we'll get going. Thank you so much. Navjot, thank you for sharing. Sun City School, Sri Ram School in Noida, welcome. We can't wait to come to Delhi. Delhi's getting ready to welcome the world in a big way in August. The countdown is on.
Until then,
We've got, I think the countdown is at 167 days till the opening of the conference. Of course, the pre-conference events will be happening before, but the countdown is really on now. But Rekha, I think we can go ahead and begin.
I think
We've
so.
had our colleagues and friends join throughout the session, and of course, this will be recorded and shared. We're delighted to have everyone. I'm joined by my colleague Rekha Krishnan from the Vasant Valley School, and we're delighted to have you here with us. And Rekha is also leading as chair of the Content and Session Management Working Group, which is a subset of the Content and Research Committee, a volunteer-based group that is really driving the content that is brought to the conference, everything from the theme to the sub-themes, reviewing session proposals, and bringing really the best content around the overall theme, which we'll discuss in some detail today, which is from competition to competence. But a very warm welcome. My name is Jim McLaughlin, Assistant Vice President for Community Development, Outreach, and Partnerships with IC3. We're very happy to have you at this webinar where we'll cover how you can really prepare a dynamic session proposal to the conference. And just by a show of hands, how many of us have actually submitted? Well, firstly, you've been to the conference before. How many of us here have been to the conference before? Yeah. Okay. And on the flip side, how many, this will be your first time attending the annual IC3 Conference and Expo? Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Yeah. It's usually about half of the attendees are first timers. So you're very welcomed. And we're happy that you're here, especially because it's important to bring new voices to the table at IC3. But you know what's really important as we begin this discussion is the purpose and the mission of IC3. You know, IC3 is not a conference, it's a movement. It's an effort to make sure that young people everywhere around the world have the support and guidance they need to have purpose in life. You know, this is not about coming together once a year and, you know, having thousands of people from all over the world come together and, you know, we're patting ourselves on the back saying, look at how good we're doing. No, what we actually want to see is real change. The conference is a means to that end, right? To drive that energy, that imagination, the resources, the research, the creativity to do this in a way that every young person, whether they're at the best resourced international school or the least resourced local or public school, every young person should have this guidance. So that's really what we mean when we say counseling in every school. And the conference is it's a huge, significant driver of all of that energy around this mission of counseling in every school. So now as we think about something like the conference, of course, now this is multiple iterations and multiple years of this conference now, starting from Mumbai in 2016 and now coming back to Delhi, really for the first time in a fully in-person conference since before COVID, or since after COVID, I should say. So now, as you look ahead to Delhi, we want to just give you some insights into what to look forward to there. And we'll also encourage everyone to make your arrangements. The venue itself, we're preparing for up to 4,000 participants. All right, 2,000 plus, we know we will see from 70, 75 different countries, but make your arrangements. We want to be sure that you're fully prepared for this conference and everything that is to come. And, also mention that there'll be some special, and we'll get into some of the themes, and I'll hold off on that for now. But Rekha, I want to turn it over to you because you've actually been to the venue.
Yes.
So we'd love for you just to share a little bit of insights there into, what your observations were before we get into the proposal pieces.
Thank you so much, Jim. And good evening, good morning, good afternoon to people from different parts of the time zones that we've all signed in. Thank you so much for signing in. As Jim said, we went to the venue, a few of us went to the venue, I think last month, and we have the privilege of living in the city where the venue is, where we are hosting the annual IC3 conference this year. So it is to say that it is spectacular, humongous, grandiose. I perhaps don't have the vocabulary to describe what Yashobhumi looks like. And I was thinking about the name. It is actually large, it is grand. And when you go there, you feel that you want to do grand things for yourself and for the children who have been entrusted to us. So you feel as if you are a man on a mission to reach the moon, perhaps, because going to Yashobhumi for me was perhaps closest to going to somewhere in space. And Yashobhumi translates into meaning the land of fame. I hope throughout the IC3 conference, and I'm sure through the IC3 conference, we'll be able to create many, many empowered young adults all over the world in the years to come. So Yashobhumi is a great place to be in. You'll feel important, you'll feel proud of being a citizen of a country where we have a facility like Yashobhumi. It really is very impressive. I'm very excited to be being there for the annual conference for the 2-3 days that we're going to be working out of Yashobhumi. It just makes you feel more important and good about doing the work that you're doing. When you're in a good space, you want to do good work. So I'm very excited, like many of us who've been to Yashobhumi, about the upcoming conference and the whole thing about learning and working together. And when I think of IC3, I have been associated with IC3 from the year 2016, when it was a small group of people. Ganesh, I remember, had called me sometime in May or June in the summer of 2016, asking our school, Vasant Valley School, to become a part of the movement, so to say. And today it has grown hugely. I don't think Ganesh himself had visualized that it would grow to the scale that it has grown today. And it has grown in the regional conferences in different parts of the world. Sometimes I feel that the movement has become so large, and it reminds me of that phrase that we often use, that the whole of IC3 is bigger than the sum of the small parts that we play. So the small regional conferences, the annual conferences that we have, the IC3 Institute, all of them have come together to create something which is much bigger than the small parts that we bring together. And IC3 is a movement that we are all proud to be part of, and I'm sure we are writing history as far as counseling in schools is concerned when we are associated with the IC3 movement. So I'm very excited generally to be associated with IC3 and for the conference and for this afternoon or this evening, whichever part of the world we are in. So thank you, Jim. That is all I had to say about the Yashobhumi and about the IC3 conference that is coming up. I'm sure all of us are very excited and are here to learn lots of things. Can we move to the next slide, please? So I'll just quickly take you, if anybody has any questions, I'll just set a few ground rules. Anybody has any questions, there are basically no rules. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Any one of us who sees you raising your hand will ask you to kind of come in and ask your question, because the whole point of this 1 hour that we have with each other is we learn together, and we learn to present a proposal and make a presentation at the annual conference to the best of our ability, to get clarity about how to put forward. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask them in the middle, to interrupt and ask those questions, because sometimes we tend to forget. And if you don't want to break in at that moment, you can perhaps type in your questions also. So please let lots of questions come in. No question is a question. Everyone's questions are right, good questions. So please feel free to write any questions in the chat box or raise your hand, and we'll pull you into the conversation. So I'll just give you the overview of today's agenda. We've done 3 introductions. We'll introduce you to the theme and sub-themes of the annual conference this year. We will show you the proposal guidelines, which Jim will share the guidelines with you, the different components of the proposals that have to be submitted to us, and the whole focus on diversity and perspective as a part of the annual conference and the proposals that you will be sending in. What are the resources that are available to all the participants? Anybody who's interested in putting forward a proposal will have lots of resources available from the previous conferences that we've got, and important deadlines that we need to meet because we are planning to submit a project proposal for the annual IC3 conference. So this is basically the outline of the next 45 minutes that we have for ourselves. And we'll follow it up with any questions either in the middle or during the course of at the end of the conversation. Next slide, please. So I just want to say that over here, I'll give you an example that there are 18, 19 of us in this room, so to say, the virtual room that we are in. And all 18, 19 of us come with different skill sets. We come with different competencies. We come with different strengths. And if we were to all become clones of each other, there would be no fun, because there is no fun in looking like each other. It is the diversity amongst all of us which helps us become the best version of ourselves. And I am different from what Jim is, but Jim and I can work together to to learn together. Jim, Anuradha, Neha, I, and a few others have been working together. It is if we compete, we will never be able to put our best foot forward. So very clearly, the IC3 big theme this year, which I think is so important for the world today, for our children today, is that instead of competing, we need to focus on our own competence. And when we focus on our own individual, unique competence, we bring out the best in ourselves. Then we do not have to compete, because there can be no other Rekha Krishnan, there can be no other Jim McLaughlin, there cannot be another Anuradha Bhavar. So we need to help our children as counselors learn to bring or enhance or polish their own competence, instead of focusing on competing with the other person sitting next to them in a classroom or a seminar or a webinar and things like that. So the overall overarching theme for IC3 this year is to move from competition to competence. And the sub-themes for the conference this year, we have 6 sub-themes. First and foremost, obviously, is the impact of counseling on learning outcomes for our students, for our children. Because this ultimately, it is not about you and me. It is basically about the students who we work with. The other sub-theme, which I love personally as an individual and as a teacher, is how can failure be a teacher? Because I think I speak only on behalf of some of us in our country, where we see that failing in school, failing in life is not seen to be a good thing. We constantly say, you have to excel, you have to be first. And it is because of this huge focus on succeeding, on being the best, being on top of things, that we create so much agony, so much stress, so much anxiety for our children. So the failure is a teacher and it is not wrong to fail. I also think failure as a teacher, meaning how do I fail as a teacher? It is okay to fail as a teacher. It is okay to fail as a student, and failure teaches us a lot of things. So we should not frighten our children about failing. We keep threatening our children, if you don't study, you'll fail in this exam. It is okay to fail. And because failure, that is a very important sub-theme for me. I connect with it very personally. The other is foundations, trends, and ethics of counseling. I think this is another very core aspect of counseling, because it is so easy to go down the slippery slope as far as ethical practices are concerned. And it is important for good counseling to be ethical, to have strong foundations, and also be in touch with the new trends that are happening in the world around us, AI being one of the huge ones now. The fourth sub-theme for this conference is empowering school-based counseling. We all have to understand that we are not only catering to IC3's agenda is not to cater to children who are in schools where they have access to counselors. IC3's agenda is to ensure that each teacher becomes a counselor and each student has access to a counselor. So it is important to strengthen that program of creating big, strong school-based counseling programs. And of course, nothing can happen without compassion, without mindfulness in the counseling world. It is a place which needs to be, it is imperative for counselors to be mindful and compassionate, like all other people who are dealing with young adults over here. We also had the last sub-theme for the IC3 conference this year will be university enrollment management as a counseling function, meaning how do we manage university enrollment as an integral part of counseling. So these are the 6 sub-themes. The larger overarching umbrella theme, of course, is from competition to competence in all of us. If you have any questions, any doubts, you can raise questions just now in case you would like to.
Thank you, Rekha. I think we'll keep an eye on these questions. Please keep them coming. You can ask, you can raise your hand, and we'll make sure we address them. And as we think about this overall theme from competition to competence, I think this is a huge opportunity for us, not just as educators, but as individuals, to really imbibe that theme. What does it mean in our own lives? We are inundated and steeped in this competitive mindset. And I'm not talking about healthy competition through sport and all of that. This is good. This is okay. But, as we think about, a certain obsession with competing and being perceived in a certain way from the outside, this is actually a journey inward to say, what is it that is special and unique within me? And then furthermore, as we take that to our students, and whether that's in the high school, whether that's at the university. So this is also the first year where there will actually be a consciousness and well-being track, right? So what you'll actually be able to see is you'll be able to select, if you want to have a thread of consciousness and well-being related sessions at the conference. This will be the first time you'll be able to do that. So that's wonderful. And Neha, you can move to the next slide. That's perfect. We can. So now let's delve into, as you are preparing your session proposals, and whether you've prepared sessions before or this is your first time, right, preparing a session proposal, we want to take you through and share some of the best practices and some of the areas that the committee, of course, evaluates as they look at the many sessions that come in. Now, I will mention that, yes, there are every year a larger and larger number of session proposals that come in. So just by the sheer scale and size of that group, it's not possible to accept every session proposal, of course. But really what the committee looks to do is balance the kind of sessions that are there, making sure that the audience, the various audiences are spoken to in various ways, right? So there could be 50 incredible sessions that are all speaking to a similar topic and all speaking to the same audience. Clearly, it wouldn't be possible to accept all of those sessions, right? So we want to think about the range of topics that are here, and you really think about what your competencies are. And then you build a panel with diverse perspectives to bring that. So overall guidelines, what should you be thinking about as you are devising and preparing a session proposal to submit to the Annual IC3 Conference and Expo? You want to think about these 4 pieces. And we'll get into some of the specifics about what a proposal, should entail. But obviously you want to be driving towards the theme and the sub-themes. Have a clear and concise notion of, what's your North Star for this session, right? You can't be speaking to everyone at all times, right? So what's your North Star, meaning which sub-theme are you focusing on? Just taking one of those, enrollment management, university enrollment management is a counseling function. Really what that entails is, we're thinking about university admissions and outreach and recruitment, not as a marketing function, but how does it actually serve the purposes of counseling, right? So if you're driving on that theme and that sub-theme, you really stick to that and bring that out in your proposal. Be clear and focused. And this is really all, going into that. And the more detail that you can share, I'll be candid to say that every year the committee also sees proposals that are incomplete or not fully developed. So what you want to do is really add as much detail as you can. When you're submitting a proposal, it's being considered in the context in which you present it, meaning all of the components are there, which we'll get into, but even the speakers, right? That you have thoughtfully crafted this group of individuals that will come and speak on particular areas. The more detail you can provide, even about the structure, learning outcomes, what you would like to present and how this is a benefit to the audiences at the conference, that gives the committee a much clearer idea of how this can fit into the overall content slate at IC3. Now, when we say voice, and Rekha will talk a little bit about diversity and perspective later on, but what I also want to say is your voice should be heard in your proposal, right? We're not looking for, or the committee and IC3 as a whole is not looking for something that is a cookie cutter template, but how are you bringing your own perspective and your own voice in this proposal? There's so much content out there in the world. We're actually inundated with content via social media, via every angle that it's coming. So what is the voice that you're presenting? Next slide, please. So the proposal components. All right, so now as you're planning, and of course, these are some of the things that you want to think about, right? There are layers to preparing your proposal. You have to build a panel. You have to devise the overall area in which you're, if you're like me, you start with sort of an idea. Oh, this is a topic of interest that I'm seeing where there's a need here. Not enough people in our field are addressing this particular area. And how are we going to tackle that? So maybe you start as a brainstorm, and that then you start to think of people who you may want to work with or have expertise in that area. You may drop some lines in the water to say, would you be interested in collaborating with me on a proposal like this? And then together you can sort of narrow down and bring it from a theoretical idea to a more practical. And that's really where we are when we get to the proposal components. Of course, you'll have your title and your brief or a description, you could call it, your abstract, some people call it, right? So that should really be communicating your title, what you're, not just what you're presenting about, but if there's a creative angle there, there's something that really captures the, the eye and the ear of those that you're trying to speak to. I think that helps, right? You think about all of the various sessions that are happening. We hear at IC3 that the content is incredible every year, of the highest quality. The one feedback we have is I wish I could be in every session at the same time. There are too many good sessions happening simultaneously. People are having to make decisions about where, in which sessions they'll sit in. Now, all of this, of course, is recorded and shared, freely accessible on the YouTube channel afterwards. But in the moment, people do have to make decisions. So your title and your session brief should really be representative of what you're going to present, right? The best sessions communicate to the audience what will happen in the session. Many of us have gone to conferences where we've been in a session to say, you know what, after the session was over, you say, it didn't really match what was described in the title or in the abstract. And sometimes that can be a lost opportunity. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen, but that you're actually really bringing forth what you're aiming to. Of course, you'll identify those sub-themes, but what's really important is that the audience that you're speaking to is clear. Right? Who are you speaking to? Are you speaking to school delegates in this presentation? Are you speaking to university representatives in this? At what level? Is this an introductory session, or is this an intermediate or perhaps an advanced session? Right? Be clear about your target audience. That will help you. And I will share that each year, there is more and more of a need. The bulk of the sessions come through are speaking to the school audience. Right? The minority of session proposals that come in are actually for professional development for universities. So that's a need, right? So if you have expertise and you can help present some content to university representatives or with university representatives at the conference, I would say you probably have a greater chance even that session proposal may be accepted. And that's historically speaking. Okay. Now, of course, you're speaking to your own competence, but I'm just sharing that your target audience is really important. And then, of course, your session format. And at IC3, typically there's a formal presentation or there's a session panel, right? A panel discussion. Okay, so those are the proposal components that you'll want to really keep in mind. And next slide, please.
Would like to come in over here, this is a map that is very, very precious for me. It is a map that is a part of my office. It's on my soft board, and it's something that I bought, almost ripped off the window of a shop window in a small bookstore in Boston many, many, many years back. And it just helps us, most of us who live in the Northern Hemisphere, to see that the world is actually a sphere. And we sometimes think of the countries, the nationalities, the geographies of the Southern Hemisphere as too far away. But I was attending a conference some years back, and we had to all go and put a small little flag on the country that we came from. And this lady, she was from Chile. She took the world map, turned it around during that conference and put the flag, and she said she was almost near the island of Tierra del Fuego, and she said, I'm from this island and I'm from the top of the world. So it was not something, we think that a place in the southernmost tip of Chile is the southernmost part of the world, near the South Pole, near the Antarctic. But she just turned the entire world map around and said, I'm from the northernmost part of the world. So it's just about perspective. And as we need to bring in diverse voices, because sometimes what happens in conferences like the ones that we attend very often, it is the dominant voice which is often projected to the audience. The majoritarian voice which is projected to the audience. It is important. It is perhaps absolutely imperative in today's complex and diverse world to hear the smaller voices, to hear voices from the tier 3, tier 4 towns, because I feel very strongly so that the wealth of ideas will come from students, from children, from the next generation who live in the smaller towns and cities of the world. And I'm not saying this with a very South Asian perspective. I'm talking about the world. The big ideas will not necessarily come from people who go to big schools, good schools, big universities, the best universities in the world. The fire in the belly is burning in people who are from the smaller towns. And it is important for us at IC3, and I know I speak on behalf of everyone at IC3 when I say that for IC3, it is important to bring in diverse voices and bring in new perspectives into the counseling field. And that is exactly why we have regional forums all over the world. Yesterday, we had a meeting and Jim was talking about regional forums and meetings in different parts of the world, things that we have only seen on the atlas in my case, perhaps. So it is important that, and it is because sometimes because we live in big metropolitan cities, at least I do in New Delhi or Bombay or Bangalore or Chennai or anywhere else, New York or Philadelphia also for that matter, it's a big city. We tend to feel embarrassed about not voicing our opinion. It is important to voice our opinion from the smaller towns of our country, from the smaller schools of our country, of our world. So please bring in those diverse voices. Turn the map of the world around, turn the map of counseling around, make those small schools, make those smaller voices, big voices. And IC3 is providing us a forum for doing exactly that. The small niggling voice that is inside us, which we perhaps haven't had an opportunity to talk about. This is a place where you can talk about your inner ideas. This is a place where you will find a fraternity which will not only listen to you, but will also say, hey, you spoke on my behalf. So you will be speaking on many people's behalf when you bring in these diverse voices and these new perspectives. And to just push the agenda of diversity and perspective forward, I wanted to share this map of the world. The map of the world, this map of the world is not upside down. If you read the letter, the print in this map, it is all correct. But we have been conditioned into thinking that the world of the map of this world, world map is an upside down map. So let's change the conditioning about counseling. Let's bring a huge paradigm shift in the way we look at counseling in schools. And that is what IC3's agenda is. And we want all of us in IC3 are here to help each one of us make that fantastic proposal. You just go down those baby steps that Jim shared with us, and I can promise you that we will have a fantastic presentation, a project proposal ready for all of us to learn from each other. So that is what I want.
I love this map. I love this map. And, you know, I want to push all of us in this, in the entire education community to, you know, and as I see this map, it makes you think differently. You know, and I remember the first time I saw a map like this, I said, oh my gosh, it's so simple, but we see the world through our own lens always. And to know that, and, you know, and this is someone in Rekha Krishnan, who's, you know, the leading, you know, an incredible school, right? One of the best schools, in my opinion, in the world. And, you know, having that, but also encouraging each one of us to say, it's also not just about the geographical perspective. It's about, you know, what if we are learning from a second-year counselor, a first-year counselor, a fifth-year counselor, a first-year university representative, right? I want to push us on this panel. There are, you know, every year we have some very experienced educators put together session proposals for IC3. And oftentimes we tend to gravitate towards the same people that we presented with in the past. I really want to push us to say, who are those one or two new people that you can bring to the table, that you can invite to join your panel? And let's not think always about, you know, only the most tenured individuals have, you know, the knowledge to bring, because I think that's not always the case. Yes, there's much, but there's a different perspective that can be brought. The world has changed drastically. And not just in the last 20 years, but in the last 2 years. And in fact, even since August in Hyderabad last year, you know, when we had some initial discussions around AI and, you know, the ethical implications. I mean, think of how far, you know, this has moved even just in the last few months. So think about those new voices and perspectives you can bring in onto your panels. And if you've never presented before, you know, don't just think about, you know, someone that's well known, but someone that can bring a newness and some creativity to how we're presenting some of these topics. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're coming to sort of rounding out this component, and please, the questions, you bring them. If you have comments, you have thoughts, we're keeping an eye on the chat. We haven't seen any questions come in as yet, but we're ready for those. These resources are there for you. Of course, and we'll have all of these links, of course, are there on the website. We're sharing them in the chat as we go. The call for proposals link is here. This is actually when you're ready to submit. You'll go through the abstract submission form, the session proposal submission form, and you'll formally enter all of those details. All right, it's really important that that's complete. You can even, before you begin putting all of this together, go visit the form and you can see the various fields, right? So when you're coordinating with your panel, if you're a moderator and you are the one that's putting together this session proposal, you are the one that's coordinating with all of your presenters, right? So all of the official communication from IC3 about your proposal will go through you as a moderator. And then it's your duty to disseminate that to your panel. So in collecting that information, what do I need to prepare? What do I need to have for my panelists in order to have a complete submission when I click submit? All right. The theme description document, this has also been shared in the chat already. They're detailed descriptions of the overall theme from competition to competence, and then all of the 6 sub-themes. So spend some time with that. I promise you, you will be, you'll resonate with one or more of those, and you'll say, oh, this is the area that I want to see, my proposal in. This is the area that I feel drawn towards, or that I have expertise in or experience in. Or on the other side of that, you have curiosity. There's not enough discussion happening about a particular topic. If there is a gap, that is an excellent indicator that there's a proposal needed. If there's a gap in something that's happening in schools or universities that's just not being addressed, that's a huge flag for you to say, we need to create some proposals around this. And then lastly, the open access collaboration sheet. Many in the community will reach out to the committee, will reach out, as a whole and say, we are looking for folks to collaborate with. I want to collaborate, but I'm not sure who to connect with. You can use this open access sheet. Anyone in the world can access this. You can go ahead and put your name and your details on this. You can see people who have also done the same and in the areas of interest that they have. So if you're looking for panelists in the area of ethics and counseling, or advancements in artificial intelligence in the counseling practice, or maybe it's credential evaluation on the university admission side of things. Maybe you're wanting to know what's happening in standardized testing. You can visit this sheet, right? So we would encourage all of you to add your names to the sheet. Clearly, you're here because you're either preparing a proposal or you're interested in preparing a proposal. This is something that can really help you. Now, from a timeline standpoint, we can move to the next slide, and Rekha will take us through what to expect and what's upon us now and what's to come.
Thanks, Jim. The important dates are, tomorrow is a big day. Tomorrow, the 15th of March. Like Shakespeare had said many centuries back, beware the Ides of March. I think we need to look forward to the Ides of March.
Look forward to the Ides, that's right.
So to look forward to the Ides of March, because tomorrow is the deadline for the super early bird registration for your project proposals submissions. So please do it for yourself. If there are people who you think have ideas or have something very nascent in their head, if there are challenges, encourage your colleagues, encourage your co-workers to submit proposals. And the final call for proposal deadline is a month from then, which is the 15th of April. So we have tomorrow as a big day for us in IC3 as far as project proposal submissions are concerned, and then 15th of April. All of you who, whether you are submitting a proposal, not submitting a proposal, please start making plans to be in Delhi on those 2 dates in August, to be at Yashobhumi, because by the 31st of May, we will send an email to all the people who have submitted their proposals about whether the proposals have been accepted for presentation or not. And it would be great for all of us to read. We are here willing to do as much homework as is required to be done to go through many project proposals from all of you. So tomorrow is a big day, 15th March. We made it very convenient. 15th April, and then instead of the 30th of May, it's the 31st of May. So there's a little math different. When I said at the beginning of the session that the whole is bigger than the sum of its parts, so 15 plus 15 should have actually led to a 30, but we've made it a little bigger than 30. So it's just reiterating that theme of the whole being bigger than the sum of its parts. So please, we look forward to a lot of presentations, proposals coming in. If you have any questions, Jim, Anuradha, Neha, Kritika, all of us at the IC3 team are there to help you, to answer your questions and to guide you through that process. Please feel free to reach out to us either through email. Email is the preferred mode, but we are there to help you. Just answer any questions or doubts you have about project presentations. I think these are the three dates that we need to keep in mind, perhaps plug them into our calendars.
Yeah, thank you, Rekha, for this. And, just add that once you register, then you'll be given access to all of the information around the accommodations. If you've been to the IC3 conference before, you would be accustomed to having the hotel accommodations actually on site. But given this venue, the scale of the venue, the location, the local accommodations are actually just off-site. So it's very important that you are booking accommodations shortly after you register. We have people from all over the world who are going to be descending upon Delhi in late August. So once you register, all registrants would then receive an invitation to access all of the partner hotels. Okay, so that's really important. You and your colleagues, and just spread the word so that you're comfortable. You have everything set well ahead of time. Do not wait on that. And yes, March 15th is tomorrow, the super early bird registration period. And I'll also mention that it is possible actually for you to visit the venue, right? If you're in Delhi or around Delhi, or you're traveling to Delhi, we would love for you to actually see the venue, right? There's an amazing construction happening and a vision that's being created around this entire venue. So if you want to visit, we're happy to actually arrange a formal tour for you. You can reach out to Anuradha or Neha. If we could just share the email address that people can reach out to, we're happy to arrange a formal tour for you. I think it'd be great for everyone actually to see that ahead of time, and you can see and feel this. And yeah, okay, so I think we can stop the screen share now. Let's open this up a little bit. I don't know if there are questions, but we're here to answer those. We're here to also just invite any perspectives. I know we have a number of IC3 leaders here who are serving in various committees and working groups. Perhaps you have some insights that you want to share. We're always welcome to do that. Hi, Samir.
Hi, Jim.
Good to see you.
Yes, I think one of the most beautiful things which Rekha ma'am, you said, and of course, the perspective of the upside down map is going to stay with me forever. But I think this is what I was thinking, that a lot of us as volunteers, I wouldn't call ourselves leaders, but we've been presenting for many years. It's time that we push other people to come in front and sort of, present, so that diverse perspectives, small town voices. So I'm happy to, I'll reach out myself, but happy to support anybody, not even as a panel, but as a guide and a mentor to develop the sessions for contextually. And that's what I thought. This is the year when I step back and say, hey, the new leaders have to come in front. We're just there to support and hustle them. Thank you.
Beautiful, Samir. Thank you for that. And Samir, if you could also, if you haven't done it yet, put your details on the collaboration sheet. That way, I'm sure many would reach out. And yes, and Samir, I would still encourage you, go ahead and submit your proposals. I'm sure you have, lots of always expertise and great ideas. What we can also do is include those colleagues who have a different perspective, or maybe have never presented at IC3, and bring them. I think that's something that we also, for those of you that are that have experience presenting at IC3, that's one thing also that we can do. Hi, Ambika.
Yeah, hi, Jim. Yes. So I am really looking forward to present, because this is my first time, and I'm so thankful to the team here. It seems that it's going to be a collaborative effort, and we all will definitely bring diverse perspectives and experiences and learning onto the table. So I'm really looking forward to be a part of the, presentations.
Well, we're glad that you are not just planning to be there, but that you're wanting to be involved in the content delivery. One thing that I would also share, especially for those who are first timers, you can submit multiple proposals. There's actually no limit to the number of proposals you can submit. The reality is there are, I think last year there were upwards of 120, 130 session proposals for about 35 available slots. So just the mathematics of it alone, and this is not us trying to create, the IC3 community creating any competition whatsoever. It's actually bring your competence. But the reality is, in knowing that there are so many amazing proposals that come in, that it is possible to, if you're submitting one for a school audience, maybe you also want to prepare one for a university audience or one that could bridge the two. So keep that in mind, because as you're presenting it, and you really bring, your own voice to this. So thank you for that. Ambika Kaul is also here. We know you've presented at IC3. Maybe you have some thoughts to share. And
of course, always. One of the things I'd like to mention, leading from what Rekha ma'am said, and as well as you, is try and see where that fit is for the learning curve that all of us are on. I'm paraphrasing. And the other bit being that while you can submit many proposals, I would highly recommend spend time on the quality of the writing and the learning outcome, because this is a very rare opportunity for so many people to be there. So what is something unique that you have? And then again, because, we're a bit fearless in the IC3 content, on the horizon. So try something which is different. For example, last year we talked about ethics, we talked about digital safety. The year before that, we talked about, green guidance and sustainability. Bring something fresh and new, and that'll be exciting for us to learn as well. So I'm looking forward basically to learning a lot this time, Jim. We're setting the standards high.
Yeah, oh my gosh, these 2 days at the conference it's like, I don't have my PhD formally, but I think we all should have some, doctoral degree letters after having attended IC3 for all of these years. But yeah, it's a great learning for all of us. And, as we come to a conclusion of this discussion, I also just want to encourage and, just share the fact that, IC3 is a community of collective leadership. And, just like me, when I begun serving in a voluntary capacity in 2016 and volunteering and supporting various committees, speaking and sharing your experience at regional forums or at the conference or at the IC3 Institute, presenting at the conference is only one way that you can actually get involved and share. And of course, your presence alone, whether you're presenting or not, not everyone will have the opportunity to present at the conference every year, and that's okay. Your presence alone is really valuable. But I would also, I mentioned that, my role at IC3 is to really work with community development. And what that means is to work very closely with the volunteer-based community globally. And there are now more than 1,400 individuals from 65 countries who are supporting this effort in some way in a voluntary capacity. So if this mission really resonates with you, you want to get involved, you want to help in some way, I would urge you, come and serve on a committee, come and serve on a working group, come and teach at the IC3 Institute, get involved in some capacity. Maybe you have some resources at your school, learning resources, 1 or 2 page, documents that could be shared in the Institute resource library that are become freely accessible to any counselor in training around the world. So there's so much that can be done. Anuradha Bavar is here, and she is really the one who can connect you, I think, mostly directly with what we call community development, right? And that's those that are serving in a voluntary capacity. Neha is supporting a committee. Rekha is leading one of the working groups, and the entire host school community in Delhi. There are 30 plus host schools that are really ready to welcome you. This is all being done, as part of this community collective leadership effort. So please join us. whether you're presenting at the conference or not. Yes, we submit your proposals and do all of that, but please come and join us and help in whichever way you can. So with that, let's see if there are any remaining questions. Rekha, I see your lips moving, but I think
yes, I want to
Please go
add
ahead.
something. I just want to say that while we are doing all this, while we are getting ready to meet the 15th March deadline or the 15th April deadline, and putting together our project proposals for this conference, which is heavy as far as counseling is concerned, remember, there should be one thumb rule that we all must remember, and that is we need to have fun while we are doing this. Because if we remove the fun element from the learning will not go deep. So have fun with your colleagues. Break a leg while you are dancing with each other, but do some great things with each other. Because, and I'm saying this at the risk of Jim not understanding, that if there is no fun in life, maza nahi hai zindagi mein, khushi nahi hai, then there is nothing that we are working for. We are doing all this basically to have fun in life. So please do all this academic stuff, like Jim said, that we should all get an honorary PhD degree after attending so many IC3 sessions over so many years. But let's also remember to have fun in the process, because that is the glue which sticks all of us together, which brings us together. So,
I love that. We bring the joy, and it will certainly be felt on the dance floor at IC3, no doubt. we know that. I love that. Thank you, Rekha. And I think for our students as well, right? The joy, the creativity, we bring that. We shouldn't take ourselves so seriously all the time. And I think we have a tendency to do that, especially as teachers, and principals we're there. But so bring the creativity, bring the joy. We're just keeping an eye on the chat. If anyone would like to unmute and share, turn your cameras on, we'd love that. This is a chance don't be shy. This is very much we made this a Zoom meeting so that we could in fact see
your faces.
faces and all of that.
I would love to see everybody's faces before we sign off for the evening or the morning for Jim.
Yeah, I can see we've got a number of our colleagues from many different parts of the world. We've got some IC3 leaders, committee members, working group members, those who are coming for the first time. We're really, really happy that you're here. Yeah, and let's see. Any other questions or thoughts that you have? Please don't be shy to ask. We're here. And of course, you can always connect with us on social media. You can reach out. I will also put my direct email here, and I'm always happy to have an individual conversation. Maybe you have some thoughts, maybe you have some ideas, you want to do some really creative and innovative things at IC3. Let's hear those ideas and make it happen. But Rekha, perhaps over to you. I'm not seeing any questions right now, but perhaps over to you for a final word, and thanks for leading us.
The final word was, I have also shared my email address on the chat for everyone who would like to reach out to me, in case you would. I'm sure we're all competent in our own ways. But to end, I thought I had ended by saying that we should have fun, because it is fun which acts as a glue. We look forward to hearing many, many diverse voices, because that is the strength of IC3. And we need to, from being fence sitters, we need to now jump into the field and play the game, because that is how we learn. Just sitting on the fence and watching a game from the sidelines perhaps doesn't help us learn as much as we learn when we are on the field playing the game with our colleagues. So let's all jump into the field and play a good game of whatever sport you want to play. I don't know. There is no dearth of good sports. And this year being the year of the Olympics, we'll have so much sports too, as sporting analogies, so to say. So let's all play the game instead of sitting on the fence and sitting on the sidelines and watching what is happening. That is the only thing I want to say now, Jim.
Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon. Can't wait to receive your proposals and to see you in Delhi, if not much sooner.
Thank you.
All the best, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Shipra. Thank you, Ritesh. Thanks, Ambika, Samir. Thank you for joining. Thanks, Ruchi. Swati, thank you. Prabha, it's great to have you here. Navjad, Mahima, DK, Christine, thank you. Archana, thanks for all your leadership. Thank you, Neha and Anuradha and Rekha. Thank you. We'll see you. Bye. Bye,
Thank you,
Soma.
Jen. Thank you, Rekha, for the
Bye.
session.
Thank you.
Bye.